welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Videomail for the week of February 24th, 2014. Welcome to the site to you new members, and welcome back to the old members. Don't forget the Ask Videomail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one. Man, how would I mess up the word animation? Say it 1,000 times a day. But I need your question if I'm going to answer it, so please send your questions to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and it is the best way to get the most out of the site. Don't forget about the Anim Gym. It is a free resource for everybody, but especially the members of KennyRoy.com get a critique at the end of the month, or actually the beginning of the next month. But at any rate, you still get that free critique for participating and turning in your animation before the deadline. It is an awesome resource. I'm really enjoying doing it. It's totally for free, so take advantage of it. If you work hard, you will get something back from it as well. And don't forget, along those same lines, that part of the best practice that you can get from the Anim Gym is the critique part. Not my critique, your critique. Participate in the forum. Give your opinion. Stand behind it. Give a strong opinion about something. Everyone's got a thick skin. They know that you have to have a thick skin to work in this industry and take critique, the good with the bad, okay? So start off by saying something that you like about it, but then if there's something that is not working at all for you, try to form that opinion and form a concise argument for why you think that it should be one way or the other. Okay, it will really help you solidify your own workflow. It'll help you kind of untangle the mess that is your understanding of your own process, and it helps the person that you're giving it to. Okay, so critique, a huge part of the Anim Gym. All right, so dive into those forums and start getting it, start giving critique and taking critique as well. You only get a certain amount out of the Anim Gym if you're not participating in the forum. Don't do it just to get the webcast critique from me. Work with each other, okay? Okay, do we have a deal? Good. Let's check out this week's question. Great question. So I thought I'd just do this one because it's kind of a nice refresher. The quick quad walk is a lecture that I did it's years ago now, but it's in the archive and you can check it out. I think that everybody that is serious about being an animator needs to know how to kind of hob together a quad walk in a short amount of time. The quick quad walk is a good intro to how to do that. And I do go over tail animation in that, but I kind of wanted to show off just a little bit of a workflow so that you can just see the workflow sort of repeated time and again. And this is the offset workflow. This is taking or creating animation that you know is going to go somewhere. You know that. For instance, this is a 24 frame walk cycle, which someone pointed out. I do have to cop to this. Someone pointed out that is actually a 23 frame walk cycle, and in the quick quad walk lecture, it actually is 1 frame too short, and that is true. And that's absolutely totally accurate. And this should be 1 frame longer, but. In my other lectures, where I go into where I go very much in depth in terms of how to time out and find the frames of a cycle, like my fly cycle and the male-female walk lecture and all those, we do have an accurate frame count. But at any rate, I do have to just caveat everything you're seeing here by saying that this should be 1 frame longer. But anyway. Back to the work. So if you know that in 24 frames that the tail is going to go on one side and then the other, that basically you can create that motion and then decide where it goes. It's sort of an opposite. The offset workflow is in some ways the opposite of animating with tempo. It's a way that you can get the animation in with no timing decisions, and then completely make those timing decisions when you're done, and make them in a way that's like quick and non-destructive and accurate to the animation that you want to create. So it's really advantageous to learn this workflow and to implement this when you're on the job. It'll help you out a lot. I can create an entire walk cycle actually using the offset workflow. Both for the legs and the arms, for the spine, for the head, and for the tail. So it's super advantageous to know and be comfortable with, and to just use it whenever you can. So I'm gonna use the offset workflow to make this tail animation. I will say this though. I want to do a few more creature animation lectures in sort of preparation for the course I'm giving at Animalia this summer. It's at the end of the summer, September. I think it's the 9th to the 18th. I'll have to check on those dates. Would that make sense? Is that 14 days? I don't know how long that is. I believe it's the 9th to the 18th. So that kind of animation has kind of been my forte. I've done the most, like in my career, I've done the most animation has been creature animation. So, and I want to implement some of the things that I learned on Kong. In Kong, the animation director for the creatures, a guy named Eric Layton, he was animation director of Dinosaur, and he's done a lot of things since then. But he had this pretty cool way of directing the tails on all the creatures, all the dinosaurs and stuff, which was that as long as they're like kind of like not thinking, then it needs to be a strong. These are not his words, but it's basically the way he directed us. It was sort of like a strong overlap. It was like overlap with muscle in it, and it wasn't like limp. It was like tighter wound than that. And that was kind of like lizard-like, sort of. But then whenever there was like a thinking moment, then there might be a little swish of a tail. And he called that the feline moments, where like it's almost like a little thought process sort of like travels through the body, and like the tail might curl or swish and like sort of indicate that the creature is about to like strike or run or pounce or whatever. So there's a lot of different reference that you can use to do tail animation. I'm just going to show you really quickly though an offset workflow to make your tail animation work. So basically I'm going to select all of these tail controls. Okay, and I like to work with an FK tail simply because the offset workflow is way easier with FK. You can do it with these IK controls certainly, but it's just not as good. I'll caveat all this by saying a lot of caveats today. I'll caveat all this by saying that if you have far too many controls on a tail, like this is a lot for a tail. Honestly, for a tail this short, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, that's too many, I would say. This tail should have like 5 or 6. This is borderline too much, but enough complaining. So yeah, if I know that in 24 frames that this tail needs to go on the left and the right, and it needs to, oops. Man, will I ever learn? Will I ever learn? Probably not. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so is this... Okay, good. So, as I was saying. So if you're sure that in 24 frames, it's going to be over on the left and it's going to be over on the right, basically, then you can put that in and then offset it, and then you're kind of done, right? You kind of are. It's great. So I'm just going to set a key on frame 1, okay? And I'm going to use the Just going to kind of find what controls I really want to use here. There we go. Yeah, I want a little bit of X and Y. Very sensitive, these controls. Very sensitive. All right, so hold on a second. Settings, slow. There we go, that's a little bit easier. Okay, so over here, so I'm gonna set a key, and then on frame 12, I'll want basically the opposite. So instead of negative 5.4, hopefully it should be positive 5.4, and then this one, same thing. Okay, set a key, and then middle mouse drag frame 1 to frame 24. Okay, and now my tail is going from one side to the other. Okay, now I want a little bit more in the top here. Really didn't get much movement out of this top control, did we? So you can go back in like I am right now and kind of make these upper controls work a little bit harder. Like that. And I'm going to set a key, and then I'm going to do the same thing. And there's for these purposes, there's no reason to really make them exactly the same. I'm just trying to get this nasty straight that's right here kind of ironed out, or not ironed out. I'm trying to smooth it out. There we go. Okay, so there we go. That looks better. Okay, so in general, we want the hips to swish, right? And we want the tail to be, that upper control, we want to be a few frames behind the rotation of the hips. So let's see here. It starts on the right and goes over to the left. So it'd probably be easiest for us to match it with the left right here. So here's my point. If we bring up the graph editor, here we have all of our keys. We're going to view infinity. We're going to make all these curve pre-infinity and post-infinity cycle. Okay, and now because the hips are turned, over towards screen left, right, and they just arrived there sort of on frame 12, we're going to make the tail sort of arrive there like frame 15. So it's like 3 frames offset from the bum, right? You see that? Okay. And then it just becomes a matter of offsetting these controls from each other. Now, like I said, we kind of have too many controls, if you ask me. So I'm going to do every 2 controls are offset 1 frame. Okay, let's try that first. So these, I don't actually trust that I selected them all perfectly. Okay, let's try this. All right, here we go. So this is going to be offset 1 frame, and then I'm going to deselect these 2, and then these are going to be offset 1 frame, and then did these deselect? No, see, my selection is not working great. Okay, let's just go like this then. These are going to be offset 2 or 1 frame, and then just these 2 offset. Let's offset these 2 frames. Okay, and now let's see what this looks like. It can probably use a little bit more offset. Okay, so that's fine. What I'm going to do now then is I'm going to offset every single one by 1 frame then. And it's going to be a little weird because I'm going to skip each one like this. A little bit better. Let's do this. Let's offset all of them by 2. So what that would mean is that we're going to offset this we're going to offset actually every single one by 1 more than it already is. I'm going to check it a little bit intermediately to see if we're getting a little bit more of that feeling. Okay, and now here's a good thing. If you start working and you start seeing that you're getting like a point in the middle, like in the middle of the tail, this is what we were going for kind of on Kong. Because what happens is it kind of feels like the base of the tail is sort of supporting the middle of the tail, and then the middle of tail is where like the muscle to hold up the tail is kind of like stopping. So it's almost like all that muscle like gets to that point, and by that point it's almost like the rest of the tail kind of does what it just kind of flops around a little bit to a greater degree. And so like a cat tail, it's kind of stiff the whole way through, and the whole thing kind of moves like a candy cane almost. Whereas this, that little bit more of a overlap with muscle, if you look, it's almost like the middle is kind of being held up. You see that? And then the end is kind of flopping around a little bit more. So we would take it to this point, and then we would really offset these top ones. So I'm going to go 2 more frames each on these bottom ones, and just see what we get. Yeah, and that's pretty much the kind of tails that we were getting. We were doing on Kong. Okay, and another thing to point out: the stronger you want that tail to feel, the less up and down overlap there's going to be, right? Because there's tension through the entire top of that tail, keeping it from bouncing on the ground. Whereas the weight of the tail is being allowed a little bit more to go back and forth, right? So this tail is not flopping like this, it's waving like that. You see? So this is the kind of tails that we did, like on Kong, for instance. And it was a lot of fun, and you know that was one style, and one style works, and some, you want different stuff for different things. I just redid this, but right now I'm going to open up the quick quad shot, and this is the one that I did. It's going to be a little bit different. Yeah, see, this is a lot more feline, right? And here's why. It's almost as if the whole tail kind of has this, almost has like this support in it, and it really is almost like the tip is, the tip is like so overlapped that the very end of it almost has like no net effect. It goes very, 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 it stays very close to center before the rest of the tail even kind of takes it back. So this is a lot more feline, and this is kind of what I did when I did the quick quad walk. And this is the end of the quick quad walk lecture, which is like 90 minutes long, and you get to this point. So at any rate, I think that pretty much covers it. So the offset workflow, by just knowing what you want to happen in the character in a cycle, in the end, allows you to create that animation, move it around on the timeline to where it works, or it's starts to fit, and then you can make adjustments to that. I think that an FK tail is way easier to work with, and you saw my workflow. Basically just build the 2 poses. It's all over on the right, it's all over on the left. Offset it down the tail, offset the entire tail to the body, and then you get a little bit of fine-tune control to decide what kind of tail you want it to look like by offsetting the different controllers down the tail a different amount. So stiffer would be they're very close to each other. Like a wet noodle would be them like offset, 6 frames from each other, and then everything in between. So I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that sets you on a path to doing some of your own tail animation. Look forward to some more creature animation lectures in the future. I definitely want to do those. It's very interesting to me, and I think some more complex tail animation will be a big part of that. And we can talk about all sorts of topics. But I appreciate the question. Please send more questions to webmaster@kennyroy.com. Remember, I'm doing a, let's see, 24th, 5th, 6th. Oh, cool. So starting Monday, we're going to be doing a contest to see who can turn in the most video mail questions. The winner gets a lifetime subscription to kennyroy.com. Lifetime. And everybody else still gets the 2 free days for every single question that you turn in. So I don't know, maybe the winner will turn in 50 questions and the runner-up will turn in 40, but you still get 80 days free just for turning in those questions. So anyway, it's going to be a fun time. I hope you participate, hope you win. This has been a lot of fun. Good luck with your animation, and as always, rock on.